All of those things really affect what you grow and how you grow and if it's a success. But if you want to try something, just try it.
We always knew that the vegetable garden was going to be a point of interest for the wildlife around us.
That is the fanciest I think our fireplace has ever looked. We've come down to the antique fair. Unfortunately, it is a bit of a grey and cold day, and I don't think as many of the usual stall holders have turned up, and it is the first of the year. So normally these antique fairs don't really start until
I was going to say April.
Yeah, April, May. This is a kind of an unusual one that they've got one on now in the middle of February. So I think they're just trying to try it out and see how it goes. But we're gonna see what's here, see if we can pick anything up, any treasures, and see what we find. So cute for Easter, I've got to have it. I gotta have it. I'm gonna put it on the table.
Okay.
It's too small to go in the garden. Hands are frozen. I'm so cold, I cannot tell you, it's freezing. Thankfully we've got a cup of teas, we've got our flask, we've got some cheese sandwiches. Better than I thought it was going to be,
actually. It was certainly
actually.
fuller than I thought. I mean, even though the front portion here wasn't full, there was still quite a lot of people, new people.
Because it was so quiet and there wasn't many stalls here, the stalls that were here really wanted to trade. They were willing to negotiate and just do some deals. Actually, we did get some lovely bits, so we'll show you those when we get home. Camera's going down because I need to eat my cheese sandwich and finish my tea, and we need to get home and warm up. Woo. We wanted to show you some of the things that we got at the antique fair. We got a whole set of these beautiful books. They're the Children's Encyclopedia, and we got 6 volumes. She just wanted to get rid of them. She just said, literally, I just want to get rid of them. I don't want to carry them back to the car. And she said, I'll take £5 for all of them. That was just a no-brainer. And the reason why is because they are so incredibly beautiful, because inside they have what you call colour plates. You can get coloured plates which are photographs, and you can get colour plates which are illustrations. I personally love illustration colour plates. Isn't that absolutely gorgeous? Typically when you get books like this that have got colour plates in them, the value goes up based on how many colour plates are inside the book. For example, we pay anywhere like £5, £10, £20 for one book that's got colour plates in.
This one's quite interesting, actually. This is The Birds That Nest in Britain, and it's 4 pages, and it's actually, I've identified most of these somewhere in our garden.
Wow.
Anything from sparrowhawks to herons to pheasants.
I'll just leave them open and leave them in guest bedrooms. I just think that they're A, beautiful to look at, and B, if you're a guest and you're staying with us and you walk into the guest bedroom and you see something beautiful, nice book on the side, and you want to just have a flick through, it's something nice to go through other than just another magazine. And then we got a little vase, a little jug, enamel. Very nice. I don't think it's that old, more vintage than antique, but just a beautiful periwinkle blue. And I just think this, with the amount of dahlias that I grow in the summer, most of my dahlias are pinks and oranges. So pinks and oranges up here will look really fab. So I love that. The same woman who was selling that jug was selling this little guy, who is a beautiful little stone bunny. We don't have any stone things in our garden like stone frogs or stone statues or anything like that. And I've always had my eye out for something, but I wanted something a bit different. Probably a bit too small to go in the garden, because when you put it on the ground, it kind of gets lost really quickly because it's so tiny. But what I'm going to do is I'm either going to put it on the doorstep for Easter, or put it on an actual garden table.
And a plant pot would be nice.
Yeah, next to a plant pot, exactly, or in a plant pot, yeah. And then as we were leaving, we went to the inside stalls, because there's kind of like this section which is like almost like a barn. But there was a new guy who hasn't been to this one before, and he does all ceramics. He said, I've got way too much stock, and I'm having a half price kind of fire sale. I found a little table section of his where he had previous sales. So he'd, for example, had some of the plates at like 22 and they had dropped down to like £15. And so the price had already marked down. And he said, nope, it's half price off the marked down price. So literally half price on everything. He said, I just need to clear stock. I need to make space. And they were just so well priced. They were real bargains. These are going to be going into the utility room. I don't know if you saw in one of our previous vlogs, but I've got a wall in the utility room which I'm putting I want to decorate with these kind of plates.
That's the really incredible thing about the UK, is that you can go to these antique fairs.
Yeah.
And it's crazy to think that some of these plates you were saying are 1820s.
Yeah.
I mean, you're talking 200 years old, and they're not chipped, they're in fantastic condition.
It's amazing. I absolutely love them. I think that they're all so beautiful because they're, they feel unique. Yeah, so it's Valentine's tomorrow, so we don't really do anything. Typically, we don't really celebrate or do anything special for it. We're lucky if we give each other a card. But we're going to make an effort this year. We'll just have the night by the fire with some lovely nibbles and just a kind of a smorgasbord of deliciousness. I think we've got some quiz games that we got given at Christmas or something, so we'll get those out. A different way to spend the evening other than just sitting in front of a screen.
Yeah.
The fireplace is actually looking very empty. We need to restock.
Definitely.
So we're going to do that today and just make sure that we've got everything ready for tomorrow night. And then we're going to take advantage of the sun and we're going to get out and do some gardening. But I don't think we'll film that because it's pretty much going to be the same as what you've just seen
last week
in the last vlog. So it's going to be more of that. So we're going to be doing that for the rest of this afternoon, I think. Yeah, we'll get on and do the fireplace first so that we're restocked for that. So that's one job ticked off the list.
This box of the night briquettes, it's quite small. It probably weighs more than that actual big box of oak.
Wow.
And I think it's because it's supposed to be so dense, because I think each briquette's supposed to burn for something like 8 hours.
Yeah.
Wow, it's not light.
So a huge thank you to this week's sponsor, Wood Fuels, who very kindly reached out to us after seeing our recent vlogs where we talked about our log store and our wood and how we use our wood burning stoves, and offered to send us a whole bunch of their products to try out for the first time because we've never tried their products before. It's very generous of Wood Fuels, so thank you so much. So what have we got? It looks like we've got a really lovely range of things to try.
So we've got oak, we've got hardwoods, we've got kindling, natural firelighters, and then nighttime briquettes.
Wow, they kind of look like little birds' nests, or
Totally.
They remind me of baklava. Do not eat these, but they look really cute, don't they?
And they're supposed to burn for 10 minutes, and they're actually quite weird because they feel a bit damp.
Yeah, they do feel a bit damp.
And they're a bit sticky. So I don't know whether there's resin in here that actually allows them to burn for longer. And it's also really nice if you do a lot of barbecues, for example. You don't want to be using kind of paraffin or oil-based firelighters, because obviously that can get stuck in the actual fumes of that particular fire. So if you're barbecuing, you're going to be eating that. So these are 100% natural. So you can use these even if you smoke food or anything like that. You can utilize all of these to actually get those fires going.
Wow.
And all of their woods are sustainable, so their oak, their hardwoods all come from sustainable managed forests.
That box does not look like it's that big, and then it's completely filled our whole basket.
So these are the nighttime briquettes. They are hefty and you can see why they would burn up to 8 hours. We'll give them a bash tomorrow night just to see, because we're curious, just to see how they actually burn.
Well, I have to say the fireplace is looking very well stocked and looking absolutely gorgeous. That is the fanciest I think our fireplace has ever looked.
I've got to say the quality of the wood's great, and I'm really impressed with their packaging too. So everything comes in cardboard boxes, it's color coded, so if you have got an assortment of different things that you actually get and you've stacked them in the garage, you'll know exactly which box is which. And apart from the plastic that the night briquettes came in, all of these are just being closed and actually folded in. So, you know, easy to recycle. And in our case, most of these are probably going to end up on the compost heap, so really low impact. So we had a really nice Valentine's Day evening last night. It was really chilled and relaxed, and it was exactly what we needed because we'd spent the whole day shredding more branches and moving all of those chippings to the vegetable garden. When I was actually down and unloading them, I noticed that we had another break-in in the vegetable garden, which I'm going to show you now. We always knew that the vegetable garden was going to be a point of interest for the wildlife around us because there's just so much of it around us. So when we built it, we actually did make it as difficult for wildlife to get in as possible. We lined the side of the fence with chicken wire. We ran the chicken wire a meter underneath the pathways to really try and make sure that nothing could burrow through or under the actual fence. So the first year in the vegetable garden, it was all plain sailing, nothing got in, but the memo got out, and then we started having problems with rabbits in particular breaking into the vegetable garden to the point where it was so frustrating because I couldn't work out where they were coming through. So we actually had to put up security cameras to identify where they were getting into the actual vegetable garden. The vegetable garden never looks its best at this time of year, but I gotta say the actual chippings themselves, the shredded branches look really great. So I'll just quickly show you where the rabbits have broken in and just what kind of damage they tend to do. I scoured the perimeter yesterday to try and figure out where they were coming through, and I found this area here. You can see that the chicken wire is broken. The rest of the chicken wire, which is the new one that we put in 2 years ago, all the way up to the top is perfectly fine. So what we'll probably do is come out here in the next couple of days, reinforce the bottom of that, and we'll probably run it all the way up to the top just to make sure that this last portion of the vegetable garden is secure. The one thing I'm really grateful about is that they've actually chosen to break in now in the middle of February when there's actually nothing in the beds, because the first time that they actually did break in, I think it was in April, so we'd already put a lot of our seedlings out and it was absolute devastation. So it's really frustrating when that happens. So at least now they've given us the heads up. So when the rabbits break in, they just start digging these random holes and just leave a trail of devastation behind them. So this is the bed with our leeks and our carrots. The carrots are still very much okay to eat, and as you can see, they've just come through and dug this enormous hole, and actually it doesn't even look like a single carrot's been taken. So it's just really strange that they would just come through, find a potential food source, and then just leave everything intact. So we'll keep you updated on our rabbit prevention measures. It looks like it's going to start raining any minute now, so I'm going to head inside. I'm going to start planning our vegetable garden. So we've got a lot of seeds. We just need to plan what's going to go in which bed. And over the course of the next fortnight, I think we're going to start our seedlings.
Well, I think it's going to start raining.
Yeah, that's what I think.
Oof, it's gone really,
really
cold,
icy.
isn't it? It's gone, the clouds are black over there. It's going to absolutely chuck it down in a minute.
So today we've started planning our respective beds. Kirsten's going to be working on how she's going to lay out all of her dahlias.
Yeah.
And I've got the task of laying out our vegetable garden. So the way I like to actually do it is I've got a little spreadsheet on my computer and I have each of our beds planned out. So all of our vegetable beds are 3 meters by 1 meter. So all I've done in my Excel spreadsheet is I've broken it up into 6 by 2. And then basically I just plan what I want to go into each portion of that vegetable bed. This is my trusty vegetable seed box. We've accrued seeds over the course of the last few years, so there's a lot in there. The one thing I've learned is that in the first year that we actually grew our own vegetables, I just wanted to grow everything. So we had so many different things growing in there, and I soon realized that we weren't actually consuming a big portion of what we were growing. So over the course of the last 2 years, we've now streamlined what we're actually growing, and we're actually growing things that we do consume a lot more of. So there's a lot of carrots, Brussels sprouts, kale, and that's what I'm going to be doing over the course of today. Just going through our seeds, seeing what has to go into pots now and what will actually be planted directly into the beds in April.
Yeah, so typically you'll seed into pots the things that you need to grow on, and then the ones that you might have heard the term direct sow, and that's the ones that you're actually directly sowing out into a vegetable garden. So the ones that we will grow in the studio on our trays, and we just grow them in little pots, really tiny ones that we've saved over the years from garden centres and purchases and things. And then we just fill those with soil and a mix of vermiculite, because vermiculite's really nice because it holds the moisture, so it stops the seeds from drying out too quickly. If the sun kind of comes across and gets the studio really warm, they can tend to dry out really quickly. Kind of grow them on for about 6 to 8 weeks, isn't it, in the little pots?
And we just keep them until basically the last frost has passed us by. And we also direct seed a lot of our lettuce, and we've actually got cloches that we put over those to basically protect those. It forces them on to come along a lot faster. But then if there is a frost, it's not going to actually damage those little seedlings that are beginning to emerge.
And if you're new to gardening or you've moved to a new area, then what we did when we moved here is that we just literally gone to Google and just put in last frost postcode or first frost postcode if you're obviously going into winter, and you want the last frost if you're going into the summer, because you want the last frost of the winter. I think for us it's kind of like the first week of May. I've got to say that's pretty true to form for us. I think last year we were a little bit earlier, so our last frost was kind of mid-April. All gardeners everywhere get bitten by frost. Every single year there'll be a gardener that you know, or somebody that will say, oh no, I put them out yesterday and today there was a frost and it's killed them all. And when you spent 6 to 8 weeks nurturing something on, it is just, it's just so disheartening, isn't it?
Growing stuff from seed takes a lot of work and it's a lot of responsibility. The flip side of that is you can go to your local garden centre and buy plugs and put those straight in the ground, but they are quite expensive. You're paying probably anywhere between £3.50 to £5 for a tray of, let's say Brussels sprouts, where if you buy a bag of seeds, you're getting 400, 500, 600 seeds in there. That's going to last you for years and years and years. It is just that trade-off between putting the work in yourself versus just going to the garden centre and putting something directly into the ground.
And then for me, the dahlias are kind of I've actually left in my dahlias, my dahlia tubers this year. I've experimented and left them in the beds, which is quite terrifying. And I put 6 inches of leaf mulch on top of the dahlia beds to really try and hope to save my dahlia tubers so that they don't rot through the winter. But typically I will put my tubers into pots if I'm growing them on from tubers, which is basically like bulbs, that kind of, similar to that. I'll grow on the tubers for 6 to 8 weeks as well, and I'll start that in March. So it'd be kind of April, May, so end of March. And April, May, and then I'll plant them out in June when I...
So what does that mean? Because in the past you've always grown them in pots inside the studio. Now that they're in the ground, they're going to start coming up probably in March or April.
No, they don't. They can actually come on later.
Oh, do they?
Yeah, they come up later. If you've left them in the ground, they'll come up later because they won't come up until they're warm enough. Whereas you're growing them on yourself, like when I grow them on in the studio, obviously the temperature is a little bit more consistent and it's a little bit warmer than outside. That's why they kind of tend to grow on a bit faster. So that is the downside. Gardeners do mention that and say that is a bit of a downside of leaving your tubers in the ground, is that kind of everything's a little bit later for you. Honestly, the first year I lifted my tubers, I lifted all my kind of tubers, which are like kind of giant.
They were massive.
Massive. And taking them out of the ground, I had to take them out in November, and it was just a real headache. So that's why I'm trying this year to see if they survive in the beds. But if they don't, they don't. And then I'll learn my lesson, and then I'll start again, and I will lift them and I will bring them back in for winter. And that's just what I've got to do. I think what I've learned the most with gardening is that even if someone tells you adamantly that something works or something doesn't work, just try it in your garden how you want to try it. Because what we tend to forget as gardeners is that, our actual environment is so different. Even our next door neighbor can have a completely different setup. They might be more wind exposed. Their ground might be more waterlogged, and they might not have good drainage. They might have different soil. We've got different soil pH across our property. All of those things really affect what you grow and how you grow, and if it's a success. But if you want to try something, just try it.
And that experience is invaluable, so even now we know what grows and what doesn't.
Oh, it says here, last year's badger visited on February 15th.
Wow.
Yeah.
Not exactly a year ago.
Yeah, amazing. Wild garlic, start making pesto and garlic butter this year.
It's going outside already.
Crocuses were out in mid-March last year. I've just photographed a crocus this morning in the garden, so it's early.
Wow.
So I think we've just got Storm Otto with us this weekend. So far it's been quite kind to us. If you're up in Scotland, you didn't have it too windy. And then we're just going to carry it on with the rest of our planning for our seeds and our vegetables and our flower garden. The herb garden's looking good, but we're growing on the basil.
Yeah. But you just reminded me, because you had a couple of extra holes that you wanted to fill. I'll go through the herbs because there's a stack of them. Maybe some coriander, parsley. Something like that, because we do cook a lot with that. So it's just handy having it outside the back door.
And I think other than that, it's just a quiet weekend for us, isn't it?
Hopefully.
And maybe we'll hang the plates up that we got from the antique market last weekend, do something like that. A huge thank you to Electrofuels, who really made our Valentine's night extra special and extra cozy. And it was really lovely, wasn't it?
So very nice.
The fireplace is still looking very, very swanky. So I'm going to continue to enjoy that. And I thought that those natural fire lighters were really, really good. I wasn't sure whether you really would need just one or whether you need realistically a couple of them in the fire, but actually no, it was perfect, just one. And you think that, a box is like, 200, 250 fire lighters. I mean, my goodness, that's for us potentially years of fire lighters. So that's brilliant. So really nice to have natural fire lighters. I'm really pleased with that. And I hope you all had a lovely weekend and feel rested and have a lovely week ahead, and we will see you in the next video. Thanks so much for watching, guys, and have a great week. Take care. Bye.